I'm Kaylee, and today I'm going to be talking about some Christian nonfiction that I want to read. So recently I decided, you know what, I really want to start reading more Christian nonfiction, really getting deep into the Bible and the Word of God, and just strengthening my faith by just immersing myself into Christian theology and devotional books and just kind of strengthening my faith muscles with some really good meat of the word, you know? And some of you may not know, my dad is actually a Baptist preacher. And so I grew up seeing him reading those types of books, Christian nonfiction, and studying commentaries as he would prepare for his sermons. And I've always been a little bit in awe of my dad's massive Christian library. So today I was hanging out with my family and chatting with my dad, and I told him out, you know, I really want to just start reading more and really studying the Bible. So we started looking through his library and picked out a few books for me to try. And then I also went through my much smaller Christian library at home and picked out a few of my own books that have been sitting on my shelves, and I've just never gotten around to reading them. So I have quite a stack of books that I think should last me through the rest of this year if I can get some of these read. If you haven't already, please do subscribe to this channel and give this video a thumbs up if you love Christian books. And of course, follow me over on Instagram and Goodreads and Storygraph and all the places. So the first one that I picked up is a very famous one, My Utmost for His Highest. This is by Oswald Chambers. Now I've read snippets of this here and there, but I've never read the whole thing. So I'm really excited to dive in with this one. This one is organized where you read one page every day and it has the date at the top and it takes you through the whole year. But of course, we're already several months into the year. So I might just read ahead and read some extra in order to get caught up on the daily structure of this one. Then I picked up The Holiness of God. I picked up this one mainly because I feel like people sometimes forget that holiness and righteousness is one of the main attributes of God. You know, we like to say God is love and Christ is the Prince of Peace and things that feel nice and happy, and those things are all true as well. But I feel like the concept of God's holiness and purity and righteousness is kind of a lost concept sometimes these days. And my dad really recommended this author, and of course I've heard of this author before, very famous, but somehow I just have never picked up this book. It's about time. And I actually have two books from Elisabeth Elliot. So the one from my dad's library is this little one that's The Liberty of Obedience. And this one apparently she talks about when she was living with the Aucas tribe, and it's kind of an exploration of Christian virtues. If you don't know anything about Elisabeth Elliot's story and her husband John Elliot and Nate Saint and the missionaries who went to reach the Aucas tribe, you definitely need to look up that story because it's incredible and very dramatic and very inspirational. I think I've only ever read one other thing by Elisabeth Elliot, so I'm excited to read more from her. And then the other one is No Graven Image. This is probably one of the most famous ones from Elisabeth Elliot. I don't really know very much about this one other than that it's one of her few novels. So it is fiction, but with very strong Christian themes. And because I was talking about wanting to study the Bible, not just read books about theology and stuff, but really study, I picked up the commentary on the letters to Galatians and Ephesians because I actually just finished reading Galatians and Ephesians. So it'll be interesting to go back and read it again, but this time with commentary from William Barclay. So my dad said that this author is really, really good at kind of analyzing the Greek meanings behind different words. So I'm really interested to kind of see like how are these Greek words translated into English and how are there maybe slightly different connotations in Greek. I just love a really good etymology that kind of expands the meaning of something. And Galatians and Ephesians are two of my favorite books of the Bible anyway. They're just full of so much hope and encouragement. So I'm really excited to dive in deep with this one. And I also picked up Restoring All Things, God's Audacious Plan to Change the World through everyday people. So this book talks about how we can get really bogged down just thinking like everything's wrong with the world. There's so much injustice in the world. There's so many lies. It's hard to even tell the truth anymore. Everything just seems to be so chaotic. But God is still sovereign, and God is still working through his people in the world. God is still active, fulfilling his promises in the world today. And of course, God is a God of restoration. So I'm really interested in this. It feels like it'll just be really hopeful. I personally have gotten to the point where I just don't even watch the news anymore because it's just all bad news. So I feel like I need to be reminded God is still in control. Even if things may look bleak, he is still sovereign. And one of the books that I already had on my own shelves is How to Pray, the Best of John Wesley on Prayer. So this is just a little short one, and it's very short little snippets. Just every page is a different little snippet and a little reflection about prayer. I have several books by Charles Swindoll that are these character studies of different historical characters in the Bible. So I think I have Joseph and David and Paul. So I think I'm going to start with Joseph because that's the first one chronologically anyway. At least the first one that I have in this series that is chronologically first. It's also one of the shorter ones. The one on Paul is super long. So I was like, well, let's start with the shorter one. I've always loved the story of Joseph and always kind of wondered, like, how did Joseph feel through all those terrible things that he went through? But he stayed so faithful and so steady through all of those things. His faith in God never wavered. The title says, A Man of Integrity and Forgiveness. So I think this will be really interesting to kind of dive deeper into this character study of the story of Joseph. And then the last one I have off of my own shelves is Dorothy Sayers' The Mind of the Maker. You know, now that I think about it, I might save this up for the June Journeys with Inklings readathon, because Dorothy Sayers was kind of like a little bit of an honorary Inkling. She was friends with Lewis and Tolkien. I don't know if she ever actually attended an Inklings meeting. So as long as she's Inkling adjacent, then that could work for the Inklings readathon. So I'll have to think about this one. I might put this one at the top of my list and read it for this June, or I might save it up to be for next June. And those are some Christian nonfiction books that I want to read. So this isn't really a set TBR. It's just kind of a pile of possibilities, and sometime over the next year, I'm going to try to get to all of these. Please leave me a comment and let me know what are some Christian nonfiction books that you really love, that have strengthened your faith, that have inspired you. I would love to hear about some of your favorites. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe, and remember, the right book in the right hands at the right time can change the world.